Good evening, Professor. My name is Nicholas Cantwell, and today I would like to speak a bit about a few things that we went over in class this week. So I am from Virginia, so the Arizona Constitution is completely foreign to me, totally new topic, so I'm excited to get into this. First, I would like to define what a ballot initiative and a referendum are. So an initiative is basically a way for the citizens of Arizona to propose new laws, change existing laws, or propose a constitutional amendment, while a referendum is a way for the citizens of Arizona to approve or deny a law that has already been passed. So the way that they are created and the process for how they're created are fairly similar, but the way that they function differ quite a bit. So an initiative begins with filling out an application with the Secretary of State. Once that has been approved, then a certain amount of signatures will be required in order for the initiative to show up on the ballot. The amount of signatures that are required differ for what the goal of the initiative is. If they are simply trying to propose new legislation, then I believe that the number of signatures required would be 10% of the eligible voters that voted for governor in the last general election. Whereas if they are trying to propose a new constitutional amendment, that number would shoot up to 15% of eligible voters that voted in the last general election. The process for a referendum is very similar, so they would also need to file an application with the Secretary of State. They would need to gather their signatures. I believe it is they need less signatures for a referendum to show up on the ballot. And then once they do gather enough signatures, that will show up on the ballot, and the people will either vote yes or no. So when we compare and contrast initiatives and referendums, they do have very similar goals and ways of empowering voters and citizens. However, like I already said before, initiatives are more proactive. They get ahead of the curve. They bypass the legislation, and they propose new laws themselves. Whereas referendums are more reactive, and the citizens are reacting to legislation that has already been passed through the Arizona government. And I believe, I think I left this part out, they only have 90 days to file a referendum once the law has already been passed. So there are pros and cons of each. Obviously, direct democracy is a big one and empowers the people. And most people are into that, and they want to have more say in their lives and in what their government is doing, but there are some cons as well. That being that these things require significant funding, and that can kind of get in the way of average citizens proposing initiatives and referendums. And the biggest con, I would say, would be that there's not a lot of room for compromise. What's on the ballot is on the ballot. It's either a yes or a no, and nothing in between. And lastly, I would like to explain how ballot initiatives and referendums support direct democracy in Arizona. So the Arizona Constitution was written during a time in United States history where the progressive movement was at the forefront of the American mind. And since the United States is a representative democracy, where we elect representatives who we think have our best interests at heart, and they make decisions for us, Arizona went the route of giving more of that power to the people in ways where if a legislator overlooks an issue that is happening in a certain community, then the people have the opportunity to do something about it. They can get together, and then that legislation can end up on their ballot, and they could pass it all by themselves. So that's all I have to say today, Professor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak about this. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. Thank you very much.